welcome to the 56th IRMA AGM. I'm very sorry to let you know that our chair has been off sick. He informed us just a couple of weeks ago. We haven't heard anything from him recently. So I had to start doing the firefighting and fill in his position and prepare all the documents to present at the AGM. Now, if you can see here, Paul, can you go through the pages of the AGM, please?
I can do so, yeah. And anybody needs to jump in for a moment, feel free to interrupt me. First things first, I'd like to thank everyone, all ladies and gentlemen, for attending this evening. And I'd like to thank Andy for the excellent leadership he's done in stewarding us in light of obviously the unfortunate situation with Mr. Roberts. And I wish him and his family well and hope everyone gets better soon. So we're speaking today, obviously, and we're the 9th of November. Just to talk a little bit through, obviously, we have Mr. Roberts, who was our chair up until this evening. We have John Mitchell, senior experienced BCS member, who's got a lot of experience in finance over many, many years in many parts of the world, who's our treasurer. Andy Montari, our vice chair, who's again well known to many BCS members over many years. And also our other leading committee member, Durgesh, who again has performed many excellent years of service for the BCS. And my name's Paul Smith, and it's been a privilege to work with these other gentlemen over this period of time in support of all of their activities as the IRMA secretary. So moving forward, we had a recap of the 2020 to 2021 session. Obviously an exceptionally difficult year for all of us. And again, we'd like to thank everyone for attending in lieu of that. In light of obviously what happened, unfortunately, there were no London-based events. We were obviously privileged to be able to run 14 remote events. The Eventbrite booking system, I'm pleased to announce, had worked well. There's been excellent support from Swindon and the new London Copthall Avenue office. And again, you know, I've got many friends in there and they're incredible. And as you may know, all the slides and videos are available on the BCS YouTube channel to watch on any device of your choice on demand. I would respectfully invite everyone to do that as and when able, either in part or in full. And I'm privileged also to say that we now have 240 members on the LinkedIn group. Everyone is welcome to join, post and share. So just to continue, we'd like to say our special thanks to, and I apologise if I pronounced the name wrong, Pejman Kojatev, the IRMA member who's helped us with the BCI activities. We had the development of the ISO 31030 standard, travel risk management. That standard is now completed. The development, secondly, of the ISO 31000 guidance handbook, that's now completed. Thirdly, the development of the ISO 3150 risk management, guidelines for managing emerging risks to enhance resilience. Very much needed, I would suggest to you, in light of the current COVID/ post-COVID economy. Fourthly, authored the ISO technical report entitled Emerging Risk Technical Report Consideration. Fifthly, the development of the standard BS 31100 2021 risk management, the code of practice and guidance for the implementation of the applicable standards, which is now completed. Next, obviously, the development of the proposed British standard on emerging risks, which for me is very important because I've been arguing for many years that the BCS needs to take more of a leadership role. That's brilliant. And lastly, pleased to say, you know, now membering the BSI Risk Management Committee study group on project risk, and again, making a valuable thought leadership value added contribution. And again, just want to thank Mr. Pejman once again for all of his tireless efforts on behalf of everyone at IRMA. Now, just to go through a couple of things just very quickly. In terms of demographics, Africa, a region after my own heart, 10 members, Asia, 96, Europe, 40, North America, 25, that's great, Oceania, 17. So if you look at all of that, a grand total of 1,453 members, We deeply appreciate everyone's participation and contribution. And in terms of membership, the only way is up. So what I would like to do, I would like to reintroduce our treasurer, Dr. John Mitchell, to go through the treasurer's report. Dr. Mitchell, over to yourself, sir.
Thank you, Paul. One of the big challenges of being a treasurer is normally we don't have enough money for the events we're actually trying to run in London. Because we've been running everything online this year, we've actually run 3 more events than we actually planned for, but it actually hasn't cost us a penny. That's because the BCS picks up the cost of running the online meetings. So the end result was we didn't spend anything in the financial year, which means, of course, from our point of view, we've got about £1,000 to spend, but we're not allowed to spend it. But the carried over for next year has been reduced by a few £100s based on the fact that we're not going to be spending that much on our London meetings. I mean, at the moment, we still don't know when we're going to restart our London meetings. When we do that, if we decide we need more money, then I'll go back to the Finance Committee and ask them. But by and large, we're doing okay. And I think the virtual meetings have worked very well. And the fact we've run 3 more than we actually planned is a testament to people like Andy, who've been organising these things in the absence of our events organiser. I think that's about it. Let's move on.
Okay, Andy, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Thanks a lot, John. Quite a number of these virtual events were joint events by other BCS branches and SGs. So as a matter of fact, the COVID-19 pandemic had enabled us to organize more virtual events than sort of face-to-face London events.
One thing that I would jump in on the back of it, and again, I would like to endorse what Dr. Mitchell said in paying tribute to Andy's stewardage, if that's even a word, and leadership with regards to the events mantle. As some of you may know, BCS Copthall Avenue are now stopping events after 6 o'clock in the evening. Apologise if people are hearing that face-to-face from me. So again, I think it's just, again, testament to Andy's leadership and his work on the events that we've been able to hold so many. And obviously, I think there will be a standard that it will either go online only or possibly hybrid as a secondary measure moving forwards, unless and until things change. But I only found out myself when I was down there the other day.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, so if we can move on to the next slide, if that's okay, just in deference to the time.
Please.
Okay, so if we look in terms of the governance, clearly IRMA shares the vision, the objectives of the core BCS vision, which, as everyone knows, is integrity and value and making a contribution in terms of IT's value to society, both in terms of actual contribution, academic contribution, and empowerment of people coming into the profession. We work very tirelessly, and again, a lot of this is down to Dr. Mitchell and Andy in particular, in terms of standard operating procedures, declarations of interest and understanding, maintaining risk registers, committee meetings, and for me, student chapter involvement and the website. We do everything we can to make a valid contribution in line with BCS core objectives and vision, and we try and benchmark ourselves to uphold and maintain those standards. And again, everyone else has been involved in this, Durgish and others. We deeply appreciate all the work that you've done. IRMA only functions and exists for the benefit of others because of the integrity of everyone involved. So moving forward in terms of the 2020-21 Management Committee, we were privileged to serve under the chairmanship and stewardship of Darren Roberts. I can't speak more highly of Mr. Roberts. It was a privilege to work with him. I wish him every happiness and success and prosperity moving forward to him and his family. It's been a privilege to be able to serve as the secretary and work with people of the calibre of Dr. Mitchell and Andy, who you can see on there is our deputy chair. We'd had, obviously, involvement previously from the membership secretary, Conrad, and the events organizer, Susanna. I think it would be remiss of me at this stage not to thank Conrad and Susanna in particularly for their previous contributions, not only to IRMA, but to the BCS in general. My understanding is, based upon information remitted to date, and I stand to be corrected, I don't believe they're looking to continue moving forward, which creates opportunity for other people. And obviously we have Navid, who's looking to get back involved, and obviously Durgesh, who again has served with great distinction, more to which to come in a moment. John and Andy, did you have anything you want to add before I move it forward?
Just my thanks to everyone who's been involved on the committee in a very difficult year. It's been a pleasure to serve with them.
Andy, did you have anything to say you wanted to say as well, or shall I move it forward?
No, Paul.
Okay.
Can carry on
Okay.
with the election.
Okay, yeah, I'll just move it on. Yeah. So as discussed, we're looking to do 14 remote events, ideally, if not more, moving forwards, and obviously do the GoToMeeting and the Zoom recording and use the YouTube channel, which I'm very passionate. I go on about too much, and I'm sorry, just to give everybody the opportunity to access things on demand, either in part or in full. Now, so before we move forwards to the elections, as Andy rightly said, if I can open the floor for a moment, just if anybody's got any questions, and then we can move forward to the election, if that's okay. Okay, are we moving on, Andy?
Yes, please.
Okay, so at this point, obviously we have a number of people, myself included, who would be privileged for the opportunity to be able to serve our community again moving forwards. At this point, I think it's only appropriate that I should turn this over to yourself, Andy and John, in terms of who's looking to stand, and obviously with more experience in elections than myself.
Over to you, Andy.
I'm going to continue as vice chair, and I've got a feeling that Durgesh has already put his nomination forward.
He has, sir, that's correct.
Chair.
He has, sir, that's correct.
So we've only got one application for chair then, Paul, have we?
I believe so, sir. Yes, that's correct. And it'd be a privilege to serve under Durgesh.
In that case, there's no need to have a vote on this, obviously. So I therefore suggest that we notify Durgesh as being chair as from the end of this meeting. Andy is standing as deputy chair again, and I would obviously welcome him. And I don't think there are any other application for deputy chair, are there, Paul?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
So therefore, I think Andy is nominated by default. Myself as treasurer, I'm willing to stand again. And again, I don't think there's any opposition to that. So therefore, by default, I'm elected treasurer for next year. We've had applications for academic relations from Navid. So I think for any of the positions we have on the committee, there's only one application in each case, isn't there, Paul?
That is my understanding as well, sir, yes.
Therefore, the committee is sort of elected by default, I guess.
I think again, I defer to you and Andy because of your experience on this. I think the principal role left to do as in terms of tying up the election is the appointment of applicable officers to the vacant post, or indeed the post as has become vacant, including obviously the events organizer and the other roles as touched on, and also regard to the webmaster. Presumably Durgesh would do that in conjunction with being chair. Would that be correct?
I think that's the situation.
So who Andy, you're the senior officer, or the vice chair, one of the senior officers. Who would we wish to appoint? Obviously we have Navid, and so who were we looking to fill in those other roles?
Well, we have Tony Daniel. I'm wondering if Tony would like to accept the role of the event organizer. How do you feel, Tony?
I feel a bit, shall I say, naive in the role. But I willingly tried on, and with guidance from the rest of the committee, take it forward.
Privileged to be able to work with you. I'm here to support you in any way possible, sir.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, and what were the other roles you were looking to?
The other
fill out?
role, we have Reza Alawi, who has put a nomination for anything which is probably left over. And I think Reza Alawi, being very busy, he may fit the role of membership secretary.
I would concur that would be a very,
Conrad.
I would concur that that would be a very, very good value added opportunity. So I think that broadly would conclude the election on that basis, with that determination having been made.
We actually have two more mandatory.
sorry.
We actually have two more mandatory roles which are imposed on us by Community Board. That is the inclusion officer and the early careers
Can't hear
advocate.
anything.
I just got asked to do.
I'm not unmuted. Am I still unmuted? No. Da, 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 da.
I believe you're unmuted, sir.
Hello? Oh, my screen, yeah, sorry.
Okay, so in terms of the two residual roles you were saying, John?
Yes, we've got the inclusion officer and the early careers advocate, which are mandatory roles on the committee. But at the moment, we don't have any applicants for those roles.
In terms of the ECA role, I've just been asked to fill that, or elected to fill that on behalf of one of the other groups. And I've been in touch with Kerry regarding the LinkedIn group for that. And obviously I've been involved in STEM and other things. I'd be happy to help with that on an interim basis if there wasn't anybody else to fulfill that, if it would solve a problem for anybody.
I could bite your arm off for that, actually, Paul. That'd be great.
I'm always here to try and help people. So that would leave the one residual role. Again, I open it to the floor.
Paul, everybody, I'll be happy to take on the additional role of communication and social media.
Brilliant.
Still
I
leaves,
understand that we have a candidate.
still leaves us with the inclusion officer.
That's right.
Well, if we can't do it, we can't do it. Just to tell Community Board.
Well, I mean, I'm happy to. I've been involved in so much diversity training as a serving councillor. I forget the hours of PQE that I got logged in, and I actually got put in as a liaison officer with the GRT community. Having made a presentation that digging ditches was not the best way to liaise with different ethnic groups. So again, with the amount of training that I've got, I'd be more than happy to act in an interim capacity if it would help the committee.
Well, Paul, that would be absolutely great. However, there's a bit of a challenge here because according to the Community Board, these mandatory roles, such as early careers advocate and inclusion officer, cannot be held with any other portfolio.
Oh, I didn't know that.
However, as you only do it on an interim basis, we'll gladly accept your you volunteering on an interim basis, and we'll have to try and sort something out to get a permanent person in place.
Absolutely. Great. So I think unless we're now 8:25 by my clock nearly, I think unless anyone's got any questions, we can do a formal introduction to our speaker and then turn the floor over to the gentleman in question. Would that be okay?
That's fine, Paul.
Okay, brilliant.
So we're concluding the AGM at 18:25.
Brilliant. So without further ado, what I would like to do as the senior officer present, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Andy to introduce our speaker. And I would like to thank everyone for listening to me for 25 minutes because I know it's not easy. Thank you.